Okay, Lois, if you want to share your screen.
Yeah, just trying to do that now. There we go.
Yep, there we are.
Right, we're live. I think we're on. All right, so welcome very much to our next Trailblazer event. We are running a session all about using the assignments feature on Microsoft Teams. So just for anyone that's new to joining a live event, we've just got a little bit of information here about how you might want to chat, connect with other people, or maybe ask us a question to do with the training. So if you look in the top right of your screen, there should be a kind of little question mark, and you will be able to click on there. It will open a column on the right hand side of your screen, and you will be able to put a chat or ask a question into that, and then at the bottom you need to actually click on the ask a question button to post that to us. If you are using a phone or a tablet, the view is slightly different. You can see the view on the right hand side of the screen currently. Again, just click on the little question mark, type your question and click on the ask a question button, and we'll try and make sure that we're answering those as and when they come in, although there will be time for a question and answer session towards the end of the session as well. Okay, so these are just some of the colleges, the schools that have joined us so far, either on some of our live webinars that we've been delivering. They might have accessed some of the resources that we've been producing. They've engaged with us in some way, shape or form. I'd like to welcome Greenhead College. They're one of our most recent additions to our group. This isn't just about us kind of delivering. We're not experts by any means. We've learned a lot as we've gone along, but what we are doing is trying to engage with as many different providers as we can to try and share our experiences and, you know, get that kind of mutual benefit of working together. So welcome everybody and thank you for joining us. Okay, so we are on webinar number 5 tonight. So we've run webinars 1 to 4 previously. Our next one is on Thursday night, and that's covering Flipgrid and Wakelet. And then we've got further sessions on advanced kind of skills within OneNote. And then it's culminating in hopefully a really engaging and enjoyable Teach Meet, which is on Tuesday, the 8th of December. We hope that you will join us for that. It's not about being an expert. It's really just about giving us any information you can, sharing your experiences, giving us some ideas of how you might view some of the resources that we've gone through in these webinars and how they might be beneficial to your teaching practice. So if you could join us, then that would be excellent. Okay, so if I just introduce myself and then I'll let Lynn introduce herself. I am the little Bitmoji at the bottom. So I'm Lois. I've been teaching for 19 years. I've worked in secondary, but most of my teaching experience has been in sixth form here at Wilberforce College. I teach PE, but I also currently am teaching level 2 science. I'm also the college's teaching and learning coordinator, which is a brilliant opportunity for me to work with some absolutely amazing people in driving standards in teaching and learning up across the college and sharing good practice with some of our local providers as well. Okay, I'll pass over to Lynn, who I think is just going to tell us about herself.
Hi, so I'm Lynn. I think, oh, there I am. So I've also been teaching around about the same time as Lois, now 18 years, but I've only ever taught at Wilberforce College. I can't seem to want to leave. So I teach predominantly A-level psychology, but also BTEC psychology this year. I've taught across a whole range of different subjects, both BTEC and A-level, and this year I'm a lead practitioner for TLA. I've never really thought of myself as somebody who was an expert in the tech side of teaching, but these, obviously, the last few months given us all opportunities to learn new things and to discover how useful, how beneficial some of the aspects of particularly Microsoft Teams and the other Microsoft products.
That's great, Lynn. Thank you very much. Lynn and I actually went to school together.
We did, yeah.
A long time ago.
Very long time ago now. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. All right, so we'll get into a little bit of the training. So I'm going to talk through just some kind of basic features, the benefits, how we've been using Teams, and then Lynn's going to do a live demonstration of Teams using a kind of demonstration team that we've created, and then we're going to have time for a question and answer at the end. All right, so what basically are assignments? So if you are new to assignments, first and foremost, it is a really fantastic tool for keeping everything organised. Lynn and I use it differently. We are going to cover how we've used it differently because I'm predominantly teaching BTEC at the minute, whereas Lynn is teaching between A-level and BTEC. So we're going to share our kind of experiences of how we've done that slightly differently towards at the end of the session. But in a nutshell, you can use it for setting formal assignments, for coursework tasks if we're talking more of a subject like an A-level. You could use it for setting homework tasks. It's really up to you. It's what works best for you as an individual. It's how you best manage your students and the work that they need to be producing. We can use it obviously for marking and assessing online. We can also use it providing students with feedback. So it really is a kind of all singing, all dancing tool, and I cannot sing its praises highly enough. It really has kind of transformed my teaching this year. So just some kind of general benefits. So first and foremost, you have the ability to organise the work that's submitted into specific groups. So whether that is teaching classes or whether you might be setting assignments in particular units of work that you're teaching, it enables you to be able to organise all of those together, which makes managing the kind of submission and the return, the feedback, etc., the marking of that those assignments, sorry, a lot more easy to manage. A real benefit is that you can see who's viewed the assignment, so it does eliminate that student that says, oh, I didn't see it, or I didn't see that email. You can see exactly who's seen it, exactly who hasn't seen it, and obviously if you can see that somebody's not accessing the work, you can obviously have that further conversation with them, steering them to the right place, which is a real major benefit of that. Again, you can monitor late submissions as well, so you can set deadlines within assignments and you can see who submitted those late admissions. Sometimes you might decide that you're not going to accept admissions beyond that, which is another factor that you can change as well. So you can provide different ways of feedback. Now, Lynn will go through some of this in the live demonstration. When you go in to give feedback to somebody, there's two options really. There's a little kind of feedback box on the right hand side of the screen that allows you to type maybe some quite generic feedback, even if it's just to say that they've met the assessment criteria or something like that, and you can return it that way. Or you are actually in a position to be able to put comments straight onto that student's work. And resubmit, return the work to them that way. So there's different ways and means of doing that. A really good option is that it gives you the ability to mark blind. So what that means is that rather than opening a student's work and knowing whose that work belongs to, you can actually take off the names of all of the work so that you can mark them blind. You know, hopefully we don't mark biasly, but it rules out the opportunity for anybody to kind of question our marking if we don't know whose work we're marking. So that's a really useful feature. There's also the immersive reader function. Hopefully you're familiar, if you've been using Microsoft Teams, you're familiar with using the immersive reader. That enables it to read the assignment, maybe if somebody's got visual impairment, or perhaps if somebody needs it in a different language, that feature is there and available within the assignment. You can mark on the go. Now that might not be up everybody's street, but two benefits for me. It means that I'm not having to print out a whole load of paperwork unnecessarily. So obviously it's helping us be a little bit more green. The other benefit is that I'm not lugging loads of paper around. My hairdresser will laugh at me every time I turn up for my appointment. I sit on a mark because it's a great opportunity where I've got kind of 2.5 hours of time to do that. And it's great because what it enables me to do is, particularly if I've got the Teams app on my phone, I can mark their assignments anytime that suits me, really. So yes, I know that's not going to suit everybody, but for people that, you know, might have other commitments outside of work, etc., managing it all makes it much easier because you can mark at a time that is more suitable to you. In terms of benefits to the students then, they get a notification of a new assignment. So when you set a new assignment, that automatically fires them a notification so they can see that, they can read it, they can engage with it. So that's one benefit of that one. Again, deadline's very clear. There's no ambiguity of, oh, I didn't realise it had to be handed in, because it states very clearly when that assessment is due. It also allows you to attach various resources, so whether that might be a web link or a template that you want them to use, it could be a PowerPoint that you want them to access prior, or maybe a PowerPoint that you've delivered. It allows you to kind of put all of those resources together within the assignment, and that's really useful because they're not having to kind of go into different folders and access this you know, separately. It's all there for them, which is really handy. And when you do give a student feedback, it gives them a pop-up notification that they've had their work returned to them, which then can sometimes prompt them into accessing that feedback straight away. I've found that using assignments, I've had students hand in work in much more regularly in a much more timely fashion than me just kind of verbally giving them deadlines before we started using Microsoft Teams. So that's certainly been a big benefit to me. Okay, in terms of how you set an actual assignment, there's two different options really. So the screenshot is not massively clear, but hopefully you can get the gist. There is a general, this is this one on the left-hand side of the picture that's highlighted with the little red circle. There's a general assignments tab. Now, what that allows you to do is exactly the same as the second option I'm going to talk through, but by setting it in the general tab, and again, Lynn will show this in the demonstration, it asks you which class, which team you want to set the assignment for. So that's great as long as you know which one. It might get a bit tricky if you've got multiple classes maybe, but that is one way of setting up assignments. The second option is that if you are within a team, so this is just a screenshot of the demo team that we've kind of set up to enable us to demonstrate the functionality of assignments within Teams. In the general channel, what you've got is an assignments tab at the top. And if you create assignments within that particular team, it automatically sets it for that team that is assigned in that team, if you like, that class that's assigned in that team. So again, that can make things a little bit easier rather than, you know, deciding which one of the classes it is that you're trying to set that assignment for. The other thing is you can click on that assignments tab and you can see everything that's been set for that team, which is useful if you're perhaps sharing a group with another member of staff or multiple members of staff. That's really useful as well. So let me move on. Options for setting assignments then. So you can set assignments from new. So if you've never set an assignment before, or you've never set an assignment that covers the same kind of criteria or that's based on the same thing, you just create that as a new assignment. You've also got an option to set an assignment from an existing assignment. Okay, now what that means is that if you perhaps have set an assignment for a particular class and you now want to set a similar or the exact same assignment for a second class, let's say that you've got multiple groups in a same year group that are all studying the same thing, you can actually use that assignment template that you've already got set up to just basically transfer that information across to a second, third, fourth class, which again is really beneficial. It's much more time effective being able to transfer that information across. And a third option is to set an assignment up through a quiz on Microsoft Forms. So whether that's using a form or using an actual quiz feature, quizzes can be really useful for assessment, for plenary, for homework, for gathering feedback, etc. So again, that's a really useful, really quick way of putting a quiz into an assignment. The other thing that you can do is that you can set assignments up and you can save them as drafts until you are ready to assign it to a class. Now that's brilliant if at the start of the year you've got a little bit of time, you know what assignments you're going to need to set, you know what resources you might need, but you're not ready to set them just yet. That's fine. You can create the assignment, and rather than assigning it to the class there and then, you just hit on the save button. It saves it to your drafts. All that you do when you're ready to assign it live to a class is that you find it in your drafts, you open it up and you click assign, and then it's done. Okay, so that's another really useful tip if you want to get yourself organised. Okay, so in terms of what students see, a student view is a little bit different to the teacher view, whoever set the assignment. You do have the ability to see a student view. There's a kind of 3 dots on the assignment kind of landing page, and you can switch it into student view there. I'm sure Lynn will show you how to do that. This student view is actually a genuine student view, because the 2 things that you don't have if you are accessing student view as a teacher is you don't have the one that I'm kind of circling down at the bottom, and you don't have the turn in button at the top. But let me talk you through what a student will see. So they get the basic assignment information, so the title of the assignment, and just underneath there it is a little bit blurry, so I'm sorry about that. It gives you the assignment due date and what time that assignment is due as well. I'll talk through some of the features of how we can change that a little bit later on. So they get the due date and the due time. They also get any resources that you might have attached. So again, it could be a PowerPoint, it could be a web link, it could be a template that you need them to fill in, something like that. What they then do when they are ready to submit, they will have a little paper clip and it says add work, and all they do is they click on there, they find the work that they want to submit, whether it's a PowerPoint or a Word document, something like that. They attach it, and then lastly they will hit this turn in button at the top right hand side of the screen, and they will then have submitted that piece of work. A function that you can set is that they get like a little animation. So when they're handing a bit of work, they get a fun little animation that comes in this top right hand corner, which can be quite engaging, certainly for younger students. So that's student view. Okay, so that I think is me done for now. I'm going to pass over to Lynn, who is going to do a practical demonstration of everything I've just talked about.
If I could just say quickly, guys, those people in attendance, if you go into the Q&A, I've posted a form to fill in. If you could fill that in if you want.
But it's just been a little bit slow. So. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate some of the things that Lois talked about there, a couple of other things that she didn't mention. So I'm going to start at the beginning with setting assignments from new. So Lois showed you 2 ways in which you can set assignments from new. One is direct in the team. This is what it looks like here. If you on this assignments tab, these are all my assignments that I've set so far this year. So this is they all appear as one. The students obviously see a similar page with all of the assignments that they've been set. If we go down to the bottom, we get this create, and there are 3 options. You can create an assignment that's from new, from existing, as Lois mentioned, and as a quiz. So I'll start with just from new. So I'm going to pick the demo team that we've created, but you can put this in any class. You can actually share in multiple teams now, which I've only just discovered today. So I'm always learning. So, sorry, you've seen there what they can see. You add a title, so I'm going to put this as test. What I tend to do with my assignments is put something to do with the date on. I use assignments a lot for classwork, for them doing a piece of writing and for submitting it to me as a scan. And often, because it's classwork, I like to put the date so they know, you know, which assignment it needs to be. There's an option to add a category. Categories are really useful. I think Lois is going to talk about these later. Categories are really useful for me to organise my work, but also if you've got multiple classes, if a student has multiple teachers, they can see which teacher. I like to differentiate between classwork and homework, so you can set a little category. Here's your instructions. So again, the students can see everything that you write on here. So you might want to add some resources. You can add as many resources as you like. The file name can't be too long. I made this mistake earlier of adding a file that the name was too long. If you click on the paperclip, you've got a whole host of places you can add resources from. So you can upload from the device, whatever you're on. Sometimes I've done that if I've taken a screenshot of something on my phone and I can set it up through the phone. It's obviously defaults to your OneDrive. So any documents you've got saved on your OneDrive. Anywhere else you've got anything saved in Teams. So for us, obviously that's SharePoint as well. So I could go into, I'm going to pick something to upload. Let's do a bit of what I've been doing today. So I might put, this is the thing I tried to share that earlier, and the file name's too long. I can pick, I want that Word document and that PowerPoint. Attach those. The students can't edit, and then the instructions might be to look, type slower at the PowerPoint and answer questions, page 5 of the handout. You can add other links here. Sometimes I've added YouTube clips. If I wanted them to do a bit of flip learning through an assignment, uploaded a YouTube clip and a set of questions so they can watch the clip and they can see the questions in the instructions. If you've set some questions or something where there's points, you can allocate a number of points. So it might be out of 20, and then when you give the feedback, you type in how many points they've got so the students can see quite quickly and get some instant feedback. There is an option as well to add a rubric. Now, I don't use this very often. I think Lois possibly uses it a little bit more. She might talk about that later. But this we might use, they see I've only ever created 2 rubrics when I was teaching a BTEC, doing some BTEC assignments in law. You've got 2 options. You can use an existing rubric, or you can create a new one. If I just show you what one of mine was like, this is for BTEC. I might have done the dreaded fail, a pass, and the different criteria, merit, distinction. You can obviously write much more about what those particular criteria were. So let's attach that as well. You can, if I just go back into that, if I show you cancel, there's an option, I'll show you on a different example, where to create your own rubric. The amount of columns and rows, I don't know what the limit is. I've not found it. You can have as many columns and as many rows as you like in your rubric. I've never needed more than that. It's one of the things I want to work on. Try and look at ways I can include that in my marking and feedback. Right, then you can decide who you're assigning it to. Now, this is the one thing that I've learned today. I didn't realise until today that if you click on this now, you can assign to multiple classes at once. So I was doing what Lois was suggesting earlier of using an existing assignment and setting it to multiple classes. But now you can set to as many groups as you want. I aren't going to do that right now, because if I send that live, my students in those groups will be very confused about the assignment. But you can now assign to multiple classes. They will all get the same end date. Your other option is obviously just to send it to the full team, or you might just want to pick out a few students. I've done this where maybe there's work to catch up on from a missed lesson, so I've set it as an assignment for a couple of students, so the whole team doesn't get it, only those students that you've selected in this particular column. The other option you've got here is if you have students that have added to your team in the future, you can control whether or not you want those students to be able to see the retrospective assignments. It's quite straightforward. If you want future students to be able to see them, you just change the setting. Due date is quite straightforward. You've got calendars for the date and the time. You can now also schedule your assignment to assign in the future. Lois was talking about setting up assignments if you've got a bit of time, because obviously we all have a lot of time free, but if you did have a little bit of time and you've created an assignment, and you can either save it in the save box up here, or you can schedule it to assign in the future. So if you know that you're going to set it on tomorrow's lesson, but you're going to plan it tonight. Let's say I'm going to do this. This is for a lesson that I've got tomorrow, 12:30, and I want them to, can't hand it in the day before, can they? I want them to have finished it by 2 o'clock or 2:30. Then you can schedule to assign in the future. Otherwise, if you just press assign without doing that, it will assign it immediately to the students. You can choose a close date, so you can either, Lois mentioned this, you can either choose to allow them to submit late and allow late turn-ins, or you can say that that's it at 2:30, I'm not accepting. Whether your students need that kind of finality, I don't do that. I don't really set close dates. I think sometimes students have, they leave it to the last minute and then they have a tech problem and then they've missed the deadline. But what it will tell you on the hand-in form is how late they were, how far they missed the deadline by. So it's up to you. There's an option there for setting a close date or not. I'm going to leave it so that it allows late turn-ins. And then a feature that is reasonably new is posting. Oh, I knew that was going to happen. I was trying to get rid of the picture of, I think it was Jonathan at the bottom. Let's see if I can get back. Okay, I'll just do that again. I'm not going to put all of that back in again. I'm just going to put a test. Let's pretend I filled all of the rest of it in. And then if you, here, there's an option, but I don't move this again. Let me try. Oh, there we go. That's better. You can edit which channel. So if you've set up a team and you've got multiple channels, this is particularly relevant if you are teaching in a team where there are multiple teachers and you've just got your own channel. I tend to put all of mine in the general because I don't share any of my teams with anyone. You can choose which channel to put it in. And then when you're ready and you're happy, you can press assign. If you want to save it for later, because you set them all up in advance, you can just press save. They then appear in your drafts at the top of your assignments tab. And when you're ready to set it, if you want to set it immediately, you can go in. You're going to see all my drafts now. My internet is slow. There it is. So you can just go in and you're ready to assign it. If you've decided you're not going to set that one, you've made a blatant error like I did, you can just press discard. Okay, so if we assign it, it now appears once you've assigned it on your list of assigned assignments. Let's move that. So because I didn't set a forward date on this one, it's due tomorrow. it should hopefully have 3 students in there, so you can see. This is what Lois was saying about, you can see whether they've looked at it. We'll look at some other examples where it says not viewed but not turned in, and then here it'll tell you whether it's been turned in and how late it's been turned in. So you can monitor who has turned it in, when they've turned it in. Okay, so if we go back to the main assignments team, if we just very quickly look at setting your assignment from existing. So I'm just going to pick an assignment that I set today in another group, a real assignment. So it was upload classwork here. So that I've gone into one of my other teams. There's a list of all the assignments I've set for that team, and I've decided I want to set this assignment for another class, another team. Pick which team I now want to set it in. So I'm going to put it in the demo team. And here, if I've uploaded a load of resources, it means I don't have to re-upload them. But this class, I might not be setting this assignment to till a week later. So I don't want to do the assign to multiple teams choice. I want to set this to a new class, maybe 6 months later, because I'm teaching 2 groups the same thing 6 months apart. So all I need to do is change the due date and change the channel if appropriate again. And once you're ready and you're happy with your new assignment, press assign. And there it is. So there it appears. Now it's in the Trailblazer demo team instead. The other option that you've got on this create is to create as an assignment from a quiz. So again, we're putting it in that team. And this will bring up quizzes from Microsoft Forms, which again is one of the things I discovered this year, and I love Microsoft Forms. I haven't got time to do a big demonstration of Forms right now, but I use Forms a lot. You can see these are just some of the ones I've done. So this, you can either go from new. It's going to take ages loading up Microsoft Forms now. So if you haven't used Forms before, it's so easy. If you have, I'll just do a quick test. You can add, you've got multiple choice questions, text questions where you can insist on a long answer, text questions where you can submit a number of correct answers that the students, if they get it right. Yeah, is that not shared?
No, we can only see the assignments landing page in Teams.
Okay. That's all right, I'll open one up that's in the assignments. Let's go to...
If you want to share a form screen, you can unshare and then share your desktop if you wanted, or just do it through the way you're doing.
I'll just try this way and have a look.
Yep.
Right, so here's a Forms assignment, a test one that I set. Naughty Jonathan's looked at it but not turned it in. Oh no, it's not even looked at it, because it would say viewed if he'd looked at it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, miss.
Abby did hers and did it on time. Nick was 16 hours late. So this is what I'm saying about looking and seeing their status, whether they've done it, whether it's turned in. So if we look at Nick, so you can see how easy, creating this is really, really easy. But what I've done a multiple choice, really difficult multiple choice question, and then a short answer question with a range of options. I'm going to carefully move that again. And it self-marks. So all for something that self-marks. You can also give feedback directly onto the form. So we could do well done, Nick. Good. I need to type much slower. Good knowledge of this. You can also give feedback to specific questions. So fairly obvious that's correct. And then when you're ready to post send it back to them to look at that feedback on forms, post scores. So Nick will now be able to see, if she goes back into that quiz, she'll be able to see the feedback. I'm not sure why it hasn't recorded. Sometimes it's with the forms, there's a little bit of a lag, and I know that Nick only did that about an hour ago, so it's not quite caught up with giving her the mark yet. But you can see that Abby, I haven't done that, it's self-marked it and already transferred that through from forms to Teams to tell me that Abby got 2 out of 2. So they're the 3 ways of creating. I will just show you student view. If I go into a draft, I'll go into Lois's draft one there. No, I'll need to go into a completed one. My internet at home is terribly slow. So what I'm going to do when it's come up is look at what a student can see from the main screen. And when I've done that, I'm going to just look a little bit at how to give feedback. Right, so if we go down to that one that I just set. So this menu up here in the top right hand corner, this is where you can edit your assignment. Frequently I put the wrong date and I need to go back in and edit. The option to hide the students' names for blind marking, and it shuffles them. That's really useful. And the student view. So because I didn't put any instructions this one, you can see that's where they'd get their instructions. They see the little tag as well, so they might know that that's Lois's work or Lynn's work. They see the date, and the only things that we don't see on this version of the student view is that down here is where they upload the work, and up here I think is the where they can see the status of their work. And there's the immersive reader option there, so they can use the immersive reader functions to explain, to use that to perhaps read aloud. Okay, so there's the student view. Right, so let's look at a written task. So this isn't a form, so this was a task, a demo task that we've set up so we can look at feedback. So both Nick and Abby got theirs turned in on time. Jonathan's not turned his in again. I think we need a phone call home. And because Nick's done this in Word, we've got 2 options for feedback. So here we've got the sort of general feedback box. Now they do get this sent back. So we might, I put here, don't use Comic. Now I don't have anything against Comic Sans personally, but if I've set an assignment where I've instructed them to use a different font and they use something else, I might feedback a next step. Okay, I can give it a mark because I've set the assignment up with a mark out of 10. Alternatively, you can write comments into, because it's a Word document, you can add comments and this starts a conversation. So I'm just, for speed, going to put something really generic. And so you can feedback specifically on parts that you might want to, you want them to elaborate. So I might put a new comment here and say, so there's 2 ways with a Word document of giving feedback there. When they open that Word document up, they can see those comments. Here, you have to press the return, and that will send, and Nick will now get a notification that her teacher has given some feedback on the assignment. The student can then resubmit if you've given them a task to do with some instructions. So now I want Nick to go in and convert that to a different font. She can do that and resubmit. At the moment, it's gone into here, into the returned section. So these are this list. I quite like this because you can see which ones you've given feedback on and which ones you haven't yet. So if Nick was to resubmit that, it would pop back into that box again. So we can do the same with Abby. Completely different piece of work, but we can say she's got 10 out of 10 because I'm intimidated by that. And we can give some feedback. I don't always put well done, I promise. And we can return that as well. We could have done that blind with the blind marking. There with the hide students' names. And that's all the 2 different ways of giving feedback. Lois, do you think I've forgotten anything?
What about not opening the actual individual assignment to show how you can give feedback? So if you open one of the test ones, because you showed me this the other day, you know, about giving multiple feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have to open the whole assignment up. You can write your feedback right in here. There's the feedback button there. So once again, John, you have failed to submit this. Now, if I was doing this on my phone, I use the dictate button and dictate into this, and it goes really quickly. Please upload your work by 6 p.m. Okay. Disappeared. And there it is. Okay, so it's in the feedback. I go in, it sits there. So yeah, you don't have to open up each of the individual students' work to give the feedback. Anything else? There's probably loads more stuff you can do. I just haven't discovered it yet.
There's a question in the chat, Lynn. Can you get a spreadsheet of the results?
Yes. Try and do that one where there were a couple of dates. So you'll have noticed it there. You export to Excel. I don't know if it'll. So it's saved to downloads. It will, yes, open up as an Excel spreadsheet. So that I've got the option to save that. It won't unless I come out of Teams and share it, and you'd have to open that up directly in Excel. But yes, you can get a download. You can export to Excel.
You can for results on a Microsoft form if you've set a quiz as well.
Yeah.
You can download results from that as well, straight from Teams. Okay, so shall we finish the presentation and then we can take any questions?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so if I reshare the PowerPoint, which hopefully it has done, except I've forgot to turn the camera back on. Oops. No. Right, sorry, slight technical hitch. Okay, there we go. So practical demonstration done. So Lynn, I think you were just going to share some top tips for A-level teaching.
Yeah, this was just something that we thought of doing, didn't we? Because we wanted to share our experiences of how we use it differently.
Yeah.
Predominantly, I teach A-level, and what I found it useful for, and a real game changer, particularly with remote learning, is I haven't just used this for large pieces of written work, large BTEC assignments. I often get students, even in the class, even if I'm in the classroom with them, they will upload a scan of short written pieces of work. So I encourage them and I teach them all. It's one of the very first lessons this year. I taught them all how to use Office Lens, which converts their written work into a PDF, so it's easier to read, and it will obviously attach multiple pages so that it's just one PDF. One of the things assignments doesn't do very well is when they're uploading individual pieces of work, it doesn't put them in the right order. So I very quickly encourage your students to use any PDF scanner, but the Office Lens works well. That way, even if I can't get around the whole class to see what they've done, I can see their written work. Also with remote learning, remote lessons, I've said, right, the starter activity, you've got 10 minutes, then take a scan, then upload it to this assignment. And then when they're doing another piece of work later on, I can very quickly give feedback. So that ability that we had last year of wandering around the classroom and looking at their work, I've replaced that with teams and the assignments. Originally, I was doing that where they were just sending it as a chat or uploading it on one thread. But I find assignments is just such a good way of organising it, keeping it all, you know, I know where everybody's put their work and they know where they've put their work. That being said, then the feedback then can be delivered in a really timely manner. You can, like Lois said earlier, it's just so convenient for marking even short bits, and they can resubmit the changes really quickly as well. So I've found that the feedback and the feeding forward can be done really, really quickly. And obviously it's going to be more effective if it's quicker. I'm going really close because I can't read that what I put on there really well. One of the other things I've used it for is when they're uploading essays, particularly written essays, and I want to write on them. It's not really difficult to download them all and print them all. It maybe takes about 10 minutes to do a class to get them all printed out, and then you've not got that issue of leaving the work to sit in quarantine for 72 hours or whatever your institution's rules are on touching paper and so on. If they've done a piece of written work, they can upload it and you can have it printed within 10 minutes, and you can mark it quickly. So I've used that a lot for both homework and in class. You can accept then either handwritten work or electronic work. For my remote classes this week, that's been really useful because some of them have access to a laptop and some of them are trying to work off a phone, which means that they can't create a Word document easily. So it allows for differentiation. I can accept work in whatever format the student's comfortable submitting it. The categories that I mentioned, they're really useful. And the assigning from existing, I wrote this this morning, didn't I? I put assigning from existing saves time, and then I discovered just this afternoon the option to set to multiple teams at once, so that's going to be even better for me now. So for me, really, with A-level, it's because I'm not doing such big bulky assignments, it's that ability to set quick assignments, get the work in that's handwritten in a safe way, and give feedback really quickly.
Great, thanks Lynn. So yeah, obviously I'm teaching predominantly BTEC this year, which means that I'm perhaps using assignments a little bit differently from how Lynn is. First of all, if I've been setting a rubric, I've been making sure that I'm using the kind of official BTEC assessment criteria for that, because I think that really helps to encourage the students to self-assess a little bit more effectively. Secondly, rather than setting huge assignments that might cover multiple criteria, what I've tried to do in certain circumstances is to break down big assignments that might have kind of multiple layers to them into individual assignments, and that makes it, one, I think a little bit less overwhelming for the student. Two, it makes it a little bit easier for me to mark and manage and keep them on track. So that's probably a tip that I would recommend if you've got quite a big assignment in a BTEC course. It's always really useful to attach your resources to the assignment as well. It saves students having to look in different folders, different files, check their emails. You might have another kind of platform that you might use to share resources, but having them all together in the assignment, I think it is certainly something that I would encourage. One thing is making sure that you assign the assignment in the correct channel. Now, because I teach the same group multiple different units on a BTEC, what I try and do, rather than setting channels just into the general channel that you get in every team, I set up individual unit channels, and I'll always try and post assignments that are for that particular unit in that unit channel, because then it helps the students really kind of connect with that and think about which what topic, what content they might need to be able to access that assignment if it's set in the correct channel. So that's certainly something else I would try and encourage. And it's really useful if you are sharing a unit with another teacher to create those tags, those categories, which then makes it much easier to find. So what I've done is just popped a couple of screenshots. So the first one just on the left with the red circle. That's an example of a tag. So I've put Lois Unit 1. So let's, for example, say I was sharing Unit 1 with 2 other members of staff. I can tag that particular assignment as my work. And then what it means is that when I go into that channel, and let's say that all 3 members of staff have set 5 different assignments, I can actually search through all of the assignments just using my category. So I could click onto Lois's Unit 1 and it would just bring up the assignments that were tagged with that. So that makes the whole managing of the process a little bit more easy. Okay. So just to finish, there's been some fairly new features in assignments, and some of you, even if you've been using assignments, might not realise that they're there. So I just thought I would share these with you because they're quite good fun. Now these are accessible from the assignments landing page. So rather than going into the create an assignment and from there, this is just on the general assignments page. There's again a little menu that's replicated by the little 3 dots, the little ellipsis, and there's 4 features that are accessed through that. So first and foremost, you can set a default time for assessment assignment submission. Now the current default is set to 11:59, and you can change that manually, but if you change it manually, it means that you have to change it every single time. Okay, so if every time you set a new assignment, it means that you have to manually go in and change that to a more suitable time. What you can do by accessing this menu is to, if you can just see the screenshot at the bottom on the right hand side, you can pop that, you can change it to whatever time you want. Our kind of college day generally finishes about 4 o'clock, so I might decide that that's the time that I'd like work to be in. I might think that actually students might want a little bit of time after college, so I might maybe set my deadline at 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock. What I'm trying not to do is to encourage them that it's, you know, it's normal practice to kind of be submitting work at 11:59 at night, although I'm sure you've all probably experienced students sending you work at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, as we have. So that's one feature. Secondly, we can set all assignments to automatically be assigned to new students. So if you perhaps have people that are new to the group, that maybe have changed from a different group, you can set it up so that as soon as they join that team, then any pre-existing assignment will automatically be set for that student as well. That's really useful because it's obviously it's a bit of a pain if you get new students coming in. You've got to manually go back and assign those assignments to that student, so you can set that to run automatically. You can also auto set the channel to create the assignments within. So for example, if I'm teaching multiple different units in a BTEC, then if I'm currently delivering only one of those units, what I can do is to set it so that they automatically get assigned within that unit in the team channel. Okay, and that makes it obviously much easier for students to manage that and for me to see all of those assignments set together as well. And then what I was talking about earlier, the little turn it in celebration, which is where you get the little animation dropping in for the top right corner. You can turn that off if you think it's going to be a bit of a nuisance, or if you're perhaps working with older students that might not, you know, might think it's a little bit gimmicky. However, we work obviously in sixth form, and my students seem to quite enjoy it. So you can turn that on and off as well, and you can have that turned on and off according to different assignments, not just a blanket on and off. So there are some of the features that are up and coming. Hopefully that's been rolled out and you'll be able to access those. The good thing about assignments is, and really anything to do with Microsoft, is they are very responsive to feedback. So if there is a feature that you think is lacking, then you can get in touch with Microsoft, and if they get enough kind of enough questions about that particular feature, then they are very responsive, and they will try and create new features to keep the user happy. And anybody that doesn't follow Microsoft on things like Twitter, I would really recommend that you do that, because all of these new updates that they get, they always launch them and announce them, especially on Twitter. So if you want to keep abreast of new things that are happening, then there's another little tip for you. Okay, so that is the end of our official presentation. So if anybody has any questions, then feel free to pop them into the chat and we'll do our best to answer them. I'm going to just go back onto the webinar. Lynn, it's about to put you full screen, I think. Hello. Okay, so if I stop sharing.
No, it's you that's full screen.
Is it me that's full screen? Yeah. Oh dear. Okay.
Who wants to be full screen?
You can go full screen if you like, John.
No, you're all right. It's chaos here.
I don't mind. It's fine. I'm a bit further.
There is a couple. Well, there's a few questions appearing in the new. We've published all the previous ones.
Yeah. Okay. So is there a way of just seeing the assignments you have set and not everyone's? At the moment, I can see all the assignments everyone in the school has set. Yeah, that is definitely one of the downsides of assignments, but that's why setting those little tags is really quite important, because then if you just want to see what you've set, if you've tagged it with a category when you set the assignment, then you can then just search by those tags. So that's certainly one way of managing that process. It does get very overwhelming, doesn't it, if you were sharing groups with multiple staff and you teach across a wide range of groups as well. They all are there. The other way of kind of seeing the assignments that you've set, you can do it by individual group. So if you go into a team and you can look on the assignments tab in the general channel, the general channel of that team. If you go onto assignments, you can then at least narrow it down to what's been set for that team. However, that obviously could be a problem if there's multiple staff that have set multiple assignments within that team. But certainly tagging it is probably the best way of doing that and managing that. So the other question, is there an easy way to see all returned work each day? I did try to set up getting a notification about who had submitted work. I thought I'd done it, however, it did only give me the option of me receiving emails, which seemed a bit backwards. I would prefer a Teams notification in the same way that a student gets a pop-up when they've had feedback returned. I would like a notification, a little pop-up to say that somebody's submitted their work. I haven't managed to fathom it out just yet. Lynn, have you any ideas on that one?
I think this is one of the things that we all need to ask for.
Yeah,
because I agree, it would be easy to, you have to go into each individual assignment every day and look and see who's returned work. Yeah, it would be easier if there was a way that could be managed.
Sometimes I ask the students to just drop me a little chat message if they have submitted something, just so that I don't miss it.
Or I sometimes get them to do a thumbs up or like of the assignment post in the main team. They can like the post.
Well, that's good too.
Yeah, so you can, but I mean, they don't. Sometimes they like it when they haven't submitted it yet.
Yeah, so certainly that's one way, I guess, of making it a little bit easier. It is a little bit time consuming, you know, if you've maybe got 15 different assignments on the go, to dip in and out to see if anybody's submitted. Obviously you could check and then 10 minutes later somebody could submit and you might not then check till the next day. But yeah, certainly, like I said, Microsoft are very responsive to features that people want, so maybe that is something that we could all get on Twitter and explode their Twitter with please let us have notifications. There might be a way around it. I've not found it just yet.
There is an application, if anyone's really techie, called Power Automate, which you can do stuff like that, but it blows my mind. So if anyone figures it out, get in touch with us at Wilberforce SFC.
Okay, any other questions coming in?
I think we've done all the questions. I've just reposted the form, if you could just sort of remind people about that. And I've also shared a OneDrive just to see if people can access our previous webinars via that link.
Yeah, okay, Kirk. So yeah, the form is for the Teach Me, is that right, John?
Yeah, Teach Me, and also if people would like a bit more bespoke training from us as a demonstrator college. Yeah,
great. So if you've not accessed the Q&A bit just yet, obviously in the top corner of the screen, the little question mark, and then you'll be able to see all of the questions and answers that we've set on there. So yeah, John has shared a form, so anybody that is interested in being part of the Teach Me, you will need to fill that in, because we're not running that as a live event like this one is. We'll be running that as a meeting, and in order for that to happen, we need to have your email address so that we can add you as a guest into our our Wilberforce tenancy, so that you can be part of a live meeting rather than the live event. And if anybody has any specific training needs, if anybody would like some specific training on something, then again, you can fill that form in, and we'll do what we can to support you in any way that we can. Yeah, and people said that they couldn't necessarily access previous webinars, so John has popped a link that hopefully will allow access to that. If that doesn't work, we aim to have that sorted by the end of the week at the latest. So yeah, that was posted at 2 minutes to 5. So yeah, literally it's the bottom one. I've just seen that there's some new things. How would you overcome Teams fatigue in a specific demographic of pupils such as those that have special needs or are not willing due to ability? So yeah, I think we have staff that feel very overwhelmed with it as well. I think one thing to be a little bit more savvy with is what notifications you get in. There's the feature obviously to set your Teams to do not disturb, so that you in effect switch off from notifications from a certain time in the late afternoon, in the evening, until the following morning. So I think mine's set to do not disturb from 9 PM till about 7 in the morning, and it just means that if you do get that student that thinks it's great to send you a bit of work at 4 AM, you're not actually going to get woken up by that. You can also minimise notifications in certain channels. So if students find themselves in lots of different channels, or indeed staff find themselves in lots of different channels, you can mute certain channels or mute conversations that you might have been added into, so that you can still see them. What you won't get is the kind of bombardment of your Teams constantly pinging day and night. So that's certainly one way I would recommend of managing that. Teams fatigue. I think as well, it's making posts relevant, you know, not just chatting with people that might not necessarily want to engage in that kind of chat. It's using it for the correct purposes is another way. I think at the opposite end of the scale, you know, sometimes we've had students that have been a little bit fatigued with Teams, and I kind of say, but you know, this is what's expected. You are a college student in the world of work. You know, you will be expected to be responsive to email or whatever platform it is that your business is using. You know, and let's be honest, if that student's getting Snapchat notifications, they're probably not going to get Snapchat fatigue. So I think it's just encouraging that kind of, I guess, that professional aspect of using Teams as it should be used, both for students and for staff as well. So hopefully that gives you a roundabout answer to that. But yeah, it can be a little bit overwhelming. I think minimising where we can, and setting things like do not disturbs. Okay, so we are, we're 1 minute past 5. We've gone over our time, so, and I can't see any more questions coming in. So thank you ever so much for joining us. Hopefully we've given you a bit of a whistle-stop tour of Teams, but hopefully you've gained some things from that. If anybody does want any help and support, please fill in the form, and we will be in touch. Okay, thank you very much for joining us.
The two of you so you can say bye-bye. So I'll switch to Lynn.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, thanks for coming, thanks for listening.
There you go, and finish on you, Lois. Cheers, thanks very much.
Cheers, guys.
That was
Bye.
great. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good.